Hey guys, welcome back to the Lander University Writing Center podcast. We are back in the spring. It is year 2019. And we are going to talk about reading actually today and giving you guys some thoughts on how our tutors approach reading for college. So this is an important strategy just for academic success overall, but it also plays a really big part in your writing. So that's why we really wanted to discuss it today. Last semester we did a podcast, really a couple of podcasts about how our tutors approach writing essays. So we're going to delve into a little bit more today about how our tutors actually approach reading for college, which is a whole different beast of its own. And so I'm going to let Atia and Abby tell you guys today, how do they take on a reading assignment if their professor puts it in the outline or mentions it in class? What do they do to get that assignment reading done? So the first thing I'll kind of just pose to both of you is how do you guys approach it? Do you think through how hard the reading will be, or do you go by what kind of assignment it is, or do you really just kind of say, oh, this assignment has to be read by class time, and you go by the deadline? Tell us kind of how you approach that when you're studying or working.
I'm Abby, and I'm a senior accounting major. And when I approach the reading assignments, I kind of go by the deadline. I don't normally go by like what kind it is, like whether it's like a novel or like an academic article or anything. I just go by when it's due. And so I feel like I approach those very differently. But I mean, what do you think, Atia?
I'm Atia. I'm a junior psychology major, and usually I'll go by the deadline. But if it's a novel, I kind of go by chapters.
Mm-hmm.
So if we need a chapter a certain time, I'll do like read one chapter one day, another chapter another day. But if it's a textbook, I usually go back to the summaries or the objectives, and I just read based on that.
Yeah, so for academic articles and journals, those are kind of different because they're not necessarily as long as like a chapter in a novel or in a textbook. And so they're probably like 4 to 5 pages. So I just like read those straight through one time. And then I go back and highlight different things. I use Post-it notes, and I just mark the kind of like a summary of it all, just so I know if I will be asked questions in class that next day for a quiz, I can just know the main points.
Yeah, I read more research articles, so I'll do what you did and read through it, highlight, go back. But then usually when I go back, I highlight things I don't understand or things I would have to research more.
Yeah.
Look up.
That sounds good. You kind of answered a few questions, so we might overlap a little bit. But I was going to say, do you think through like, okay, I'm reading this novel or academic article for essay purposes, or I'm reading this chapter in my textbook for test purposes, or you just approach reading all in the same way, no matter the outcome, like no matter the assignment that is due from it? What would you say?
For essays, I feel like because you're not going to straight up copy the textbook or the book, and so you're kind of reading it for a summary purpose. But for tests, like if I'm reading like an accounting textbook, like I have an auditing exam tomorrow, and I've been reading my textbook all week. I've been reading it just for like knowledge, and because I'm not going to summarize the whole like 3 chapters on the test tomorrow, I need to know like the exact information.
Right. An essay, you don't necessarily need keywords or definitions or
you see the main point.
Whatever it is you guys do in accounting. What do you think, Adia?
For essay purposes, I'll read through it, and then like I turn it over, and I'll kind of write everything I remember, and I'll take that information and put it into my essay. So it's not copying. It's like what I know, but it's still not copying.
One thing we talked about last semester was really practical tips in terms of writing essays and things like that. So I would love to hear from both of you things that you do when you're reading. Like, do you make notes? Do you highlight? Do you use Post-its? Do you tab? Whatever else those little like things that you do when you're reading. what do you guys actually do that works for you? Because there's a lot of stuff out there that's like, oh, you should take notes, you should write an outline. What do you guys actually do that helps you comprehend what you're reading?
I always highlight. So I'll read a chapter and I'll highlight through the main points. So then it's kind of like you don't have to reread it again. So you read the chapter, highlight the main points, and then you can go back through when you're studying the material later on. Yeah. So you can like save some time for yourself.
Yeah. If I start early enough, I'll try to highlight in different colors, like terms in one color, examples in another color, or I'll write it on the side in different colors, but I don't usually start early enough. So I just end up highlighting everything and then just going back and reading that and taking notes from that if I still don't understand something.
Yeah. So it sounds like, Atia, you kind of focus on kind of as comprehension, like what you know versus what you don't know. Does that sound right? Yeah. Which is actually a great reading strategy to have. Anyone use Post-its as you read?
I do, because sometimes you can summarize a whole page. Like if it's a novel, you can summarize the whole page in the one Post-it note, so you don't have to read the page again.
I'll usually use Post-it notes if I'm writing in textbook and I don't want to write in it, but I feel like it's better to just write on the outline.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of people are afraid of writing in their textbooks now. I don't know if that's because of renting or, I don't know, fear of writing in it. But if you own the book, write all over it. That will really help you.
I guess Post-its can help so you can take it out.
Yeah, I know that's some people got in the practice of that because back in the day they would not accept a buyback if you had it too marked up. Okay. So there was kind of a fine line, because if it was too raggedy, the bookstore would be like, no, we won't take it back. So yeah, sometimes that happened back in the day. Speaking of, do you guys read any of your textbooks or articles or novels digitally, like a Kindle app or anything like that? Or do you guys stick with textbook, paper novels, paper articles?
I have an ebook right now, and I don't like it.
Tell us why you don't like it.
It's like I said, I like to write on the side, so I can't write, and then the highlight always messes up on there. Yeah, like I need to write on something. I can't just read it on the screen and then pull it back down. And then you have to scroll, and you can't just flip back and forth.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I mean, like, if there's a really important page that you need, you're gonna have to print it out, and you don't want to print like the whole textbook out, but you don't want to like keep scrolling on it anyway. Yeah. It's annoying.
It's easier for like carrying around.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. So when you guys sit down, I know we talked about this last semester, and we talk about it a lot in terms of writing strategies, but reading strategies, do you guys break up anything by time? Like, do you know about how long you can read for, or is it really just whatever time you have available or whenever the deadline is? Do you make a specific timeline for yourself when reading?
I go by chapters.
Yeah.
So instead of saying like, I'll read for 30 minutes, because I know I can't read like a whole big chapter in 30 minutes. I'll go for just like the length of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't read by time at all. It's just what I can get done at one time. And I feel like I said before, I use like the objectives and the guidelines to like quickly scan through it. And then like if I don't understand it, then I'll read that paragraph or that section.
Yeah. So it sounds like both of you prefer to go by however the book is broken up, chapter, section. That helps you kind of comprehend, which actually is how those textbooks are designed. And I'll go ahead and plug for it now. We are doing in the Writing Center, a workshop with some of our tutors and some other faculty who are going to get a little bit more in-depth about reading strategies. We're going to give you some things to read over and show you what to look at. We're going to talk about textbook strategies. We're going to talk about just some more kind of in-depth researched ways to have better effective writing. Today, Abby and Ati are just giving us their personal tips, which work because they're great students. But we also want to offer you the opportunity to sit down in person and learn a little bit more about this type of reading that we're talking about. So if you're interested in that, I will post some information about it and also post another video that kind of enhances this discussion. I think the main question is, I see this a lot. I don't know if I see it posed exactly this way, but it's kind of like what you need to learn for college reading is what to ignore and what not to ignore. Would you guys agree with that statement? Like learning how, as you read big chunks of text, what is important and what is not important. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you'll have some professors that'll be like, oh, well, read the PowerPoints, but then you'll get to the test and it's like, oh, you had to read the whole book for it.
Yeah.
And so you'll have those professors, but then you'll have another professor who's like, oh, well, read pages 1 through 25 of chapter 1 and that'll be on the test. So I feel like, I mean, you're going to ignore the rest of the chapter 1, obviously, because it's not going to be on the test.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Right.
for those other professors, it's kind of like you have to really like pay attention to the whole chapter. You're going to fail.
It's kind of almost like open-ended essay topic versus a very controlled essay topic. It's similar in the way you're still doing the same kind of work, but you have to be able to independently learn how to manage, like coming up with your own idea, for example, in an essay, but also figuring out if your professor says, hey, it's in chapters 1 through 5, what is the most important thing in chapters 1 through 5, and knowing what is probably going to be the main, topic or goal or question. And like I said, in our workshop, we'll get a little bit more into detail about those kinds of things and how to understand what to do in those situations where you might have Professor A, who's very specific in what they want you to read, and Professor B, who is not specific at all, and it concerns you because you're taking a test and you want to make sure you read the right thing, but it's a lot of content. So that's something we really want to stress and help you with this semester, is how to make sure your reading process is being thought about and being successful for you. I mean, it's obviously different for everyone, but if you are one of those students who feels like you're struggling with test taking and comprehension, sometimes it's just a matter of redefining or working on that reading process. Do you guys have any other tips or thoughts on reading for college? How not to stress out when you get a really long reading assignment?
Break it up in chunks.
Yeah.
Even though I said I don't really do that, it's easier to
Do what I say.
break it up in chunks.
It
Maybe
is.
take it page by page.
Yeah.
Plan it out. Like, be realistic, but don't just try to read it all at one time.
Okay, anything else? Nothing? Okay. All right, well, that is the end of our first spring podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned because this semester we have a couple more of these planned. And if you want more information on reading skills, check out our Facebook and our Instagram, and maybe look into coming to our workshop.